Silent Hill 4 is the most controversial out of the 4 games made by Team Silent. Sadly, it was last made by the team and the rest is history after that, but I won't go into that further in this video because we are talking about Silent Hill 4. Easily the most interesting Silent Hill game I have played out of the bunch. And I was satisfied, but I have some issues I will get into further in the video. So I will start with that. So let's get straight into it.
What the hell?
Like any other Silent Hill game, it is based on surviving the nightmare that requires you to save healing items, trying to avoid combat as much as possible to avoid taking damage while also trying to solve puzzles to escape the hellish nightmare that the Silent Hill games are based upon. In Silent Hill 4 though, that is a bit of a different experience this time around just because this game is more combat focused, with you having a stamina meter and more enemies spawning, making it impossible to avoid combat. Which leads me to my first issue. The combat controls are really janky and feel miserable to execute. Of course, later on when you get more weapons, like the revolver and the pistol, combat feels a lot more or less like a chore, with the game giving you a ton of ammo on normal, which is a difficulty I played on my first time around. I definitely do not think that the game should have been more combat focused just because it is irritating trying to run through areas with the sniffer dogs or the ghost, another example, constantly running at you, taking more damage. Like, I just don't want to take so much damage in one area and not having much for the next area. But for the ghosts, there is a sword of obedience, which later on, when you get these swords, you can use them to trap the ghost. But some of the ghosts are harder than just normal ones, and it's kind of hard to know when you're supposed to do that action. So the best thing you can do is knock them down on the ground and wait for like a few seconds if they do not get up, or like 1 or 2 seconds at best. If they're not getting up, which is a clear indicator that they can be impaled and trapped. In the previous titles, you had basically infinite inventory space, and the title is following behind 4, which made the game easier and less irritating not to backtrack every 5 minutes. But this time around, you have limited inventory, which is actually pretty fine, but make sure you use the holy candles to cancel hauntings in the rooms, or in the room later on in the game. If you get them, put them near the hauntings area, because you can die in your own apartment. If you don't do so, then your room's gonna be haunted, that's for sure. So it adds to the tension and uneasiness, but gets annoying when you're not paying attention enough. I didn't pay attention enough the first time around, and I'm dying once and taking a lot of damage, which was irritating, to say the least. Lastly, this last flaw is kind of a spoiler in the later game, but not really. But there's a hospital level, and I won't say too much story-wise, but the last third of the game is basically an escort mission. And this one's kind of a doozy, but it was horrible in some parts. But you can leave the AI in like a room, and they won't move at all. So you can go do what you need to do and just come back. But overall, the AI is just super irritating, especially when they try to fight the enemies on the way through each level. Like, they'll just stop there for a minute, try the attack, and when you're trying to like rush through the area and you go through the door you need to, and you just don't see them next to you, it's like, okay, I guess I have to go back. And you just end up taking more damage than needed to, and it's hard to progress that way. It was easily the worst part of the game for me. Personally, they don't have a health bar, but the amount of damage they take affects the ending, so you want to make sure they don't really take as much damage. But yeah, I mean, the best thing you could do otherwise then is just not give the AI a weapon in the first place, so they don't waste your time as much. The gameplay takes you back to the core Silent Hill gameplay, but makes it more irritating than it should, and with the AI being super slow, it makes going in blind and not knowing what the best strategies are really kind of a chore altogether. But what makes the game is the level design and the music. I won't really go into the story this time, just because you need to play it yourself to fully understand it. It would just take forever to cover it. It'd be a whole 10-minute section. But on to the next section, level design and music. The strongest point in the game for me is the level design and music together, with example being,
Who are you? What's your name?
Henry. And you?
This is my dream, and you don't even know my name. It's Cynthia.
Your dream.
That's right. This is just a dream. And a really terrible one, too. I hope I wake up soon.
So you think this is a dream, huh?
Well, if it's not a dream, what is it? Anyway, I want to get out of here, but I can't find the exit. Say, will you help me find it? I'm kind of scared all alone. I'll do a special favor for you later. It's just a dream, so I might as well have some fun.
The Silent Hill games are always reminded me of David Lynch films, for example, being Mulholland Drive, The Lost Highway, Twin Peaks, things like that. Really surreal and dreamlike, but more nightmare-feelish with the Silent Hill games. With Akira Yamaoka on the soundtrack once again, he really makes the scenes feel more dreamlike, also kind of real at the same time. Cannot really put my finger on it, but nonetheless, the music makes every single level in this game not only memorable, it makes me dread the nightmares behind each door, but makes everything shine, including the ambience, which is top tier in this game. Obviously next to Silent Hill 2. The game takes you into multiple worlds, examples being a hospital, or maybe a forest, or even a water prison, or even a subway, which is easily the most memorable in the bunch. I think the best level is either the hospital or the water prison, with the dirty rusted metal of the water prison, or to the rundown hospital, which is one of the highlights to every Silent Hill game, or at least the 4 Silent Hill games that came out of Team Silent. Overall, the level design is amazing and is the best part of the game, on top of the soundtrack lighting up every scene and level with a sense of dread on top of the eeriness. For almost the whole game, you are trapped inside your apartment where no one can hear you. You are isolated from the world, unable to be seen through the windows, like you just vanished out of existence. I think that is the perfect concept for creating a sense of uneasiness and restriction, knowing you only have one way to go, which is through the hole to hell, where your worst nightmares are. And earlier I mentioned hauntings. Later on, when you go deeper to find the truth, ghosts will try to harm you in your own apartment next to in the other worlds you go to, which makes nowhere safe at all, even in the only place you can save the game, which is just contributes to how underrated and claustrophobic this game really is. When you are in other worlds, time moves slow in the real world, which makes the game take place in one day essentially, and throughout that day there will be specific events that can be observed around you, but make sure you do not miss them, because it is somewhat easy to miss if you're not paying attention in the slightest. They can be observed through the people at the front door.
How's it going with room 302?
Well, I just tried to open it up, but it looks like something's blocking it from the inside. Anyway, it's not the first time.
You mean the guy who lived here before?
And it wasn't just him either. There's something wrong with his whole apartment.
Don't say that. You're scaring me.
Well, anyway, I just slipped a note under his door. Don't worry about it too much. There are a lot of strange things in this world. The umbilical cord I keep in a box in my room. Lately, it's started to smell terrible.
Huh? Umbilical cord?
Oh, well, forget I said anything.
But still. Those noises.
Another people behind a piece of furniture. And lastly, the windows, which you can see how the neighbor, see how the other neighbors are doing. All these elements together make the perfect mix of isolation and true fear of being forgotten. In conclusion, the game has an amazing soundtrack with beautiful level design that will absolutely scare you shitless. But the biggest downgrade is the combat and the AI, which makes the game hard to play in some parts, but it is at least excusable to an extent. Because I did not really know what I was doing at first. It took a while to get used to the combat too. This game easily has the most detail when it comes to its themes and the in-depth apartment setting and being isolated. Overall, really underrated game, but held down by some things that just did not really work in the end, which makes sense for it to be the most controversial in the four games. So, in the end, I think Silent Hill 4 is truly remarkable, but not as good as its predecessors before it. But it marks the end of a generation of Silent Hill that will never be forgotten. Thank you, Team Silent.